Hi there, greetings from Australia. I'm doing a series on women who lie for Trump, and this is the second in that series. This is Hope Hicks's reading. The first one was Sarah Huckabee Sanders, which I found a very interesting reading to do, and generally it was that Sarah Huckabee Sanders believes in the Republican narrative. If not Donald Trump himself, she believes strongly in that narrative, and that's what motivates her. We'll see what's happening with Hope Hicks. Most of us became aware of her during that famous Air Force One flight where Donald Sr. Committed some sort of federal offence by writing on the back of an envelope some argument about Russian adoptions, I think it was, for his son. This peculiar document was then given to Hope Hicks to put a spin on it because that's her job. So she's one of the young and the beautiful that have been around his campaign. She was with him before the presidential campaign. And apparently didn't know he was going to run. She thought it was another real estate deal. I just read that recently. And she said, yeah, sure, I'll work on it. And he said, no, the presidency. I'm going to run for the presidency. So that just shows in a way what a sideshow this whole thing is. So she got the gig. She seems to keep her head above water. Who knows? I did also see recently where she steam presses his pants after flights while he's still wearing them. I won't go there. That's too hideous to contemplate. I don't want you to have the visual image either. But Hope Hicks, she could have resigned, but she hasn't because, for whatever reason, she's in this circus. So let's see what is happening with Hope Hicks. So Hope Hicks, what's her story? Hope Hicks. We know she's been interviewed by the Mueller investigation. Now she's on the other side of that. So Hope Hicks. What's happening for Hope Hicks? Let's have a little look. Oh, camera down. Okay. Hope you can see these cards okay. This is the Ace of Cups. It's turning up a lot. Cups being emotions and perceptions, and it's the slightly mad emotions card. Too much emotion going on, a wellspring of emotion with the demented bird flying around in there, the hand of God. So it's on the one hand, all the good things are happening in life card, but there is an element of excess to this card. There's a slightly debauched element of excess. So that's her central card. So in that sense, she's driven emotionally. So as a 29-year-old, she might be very good at her job, which is lying for the president, but emotionally she's in there. And I suspect this is Trump's pattern. He's very good to these young women who see him being vile, vicious and bullying to other people, so they bask in his sort of good-natured overtures to them, is my overall feeling. And I think that's emotionally what's keeping her in there. Oh. So what is the core of this reading? We should be getting used to seeing this now. The Three of Swords, the pierced heart. Now, on the one hand, this could be talking about her love life. She might be having a menage a trois that's just collapsed. I don't know. I don't think so. These are political readings. The emphasis is on the political domain, on the administration and on their jobs. So I suspect the piercing of the heart could be either other people who have dobbed her in. So, for example, whether it's Papadopoulos or Flynn or Gates or Manafort, her name's come up in relation to what they said to somebody, and I think she may have had her heart pierced in that sense, being skewered. So what is acting on top of that? The card of condescension. It's the Six of Pentacles. So this figure is quite wealthy, giving out pennies to the poor. But it's also known, some readers call it the quid pro quo card, or basically you don't get something for nothing. So even though this figure is giving something, they want something in return. So I suspect this might be what motivated some of Hope Hicks' enemies. Enemies she didn't think she had, interestingly enough. So we'll see how this fits into the bigger tapestry of her reading. Now, the base or root of this reading, the Queen of Cups. Yeah, emotion. She comes across as very contained, very businesslike, but she's actually very emotionally driven. In fact, that's the biggest part of her psyche and her motivation, is her emotional relationship. And I would suggest that's her emotional relationship with the job and the emotional relationship with Trump. So this figure, if you notice, the feet are near the water, the beach has pebbles on it. It's a bit complex. What seems like a serene image actually has more going on. And also the cups, in this case, the lid is on the cups. So I think she keeps a lid on her emotions a lot of the time. But this is what happens when the lid comes off. There's this fountain of emotion. So in the recent past, yes, well, just reminding you, particularly those who are learning to read tarot as well, just remind, recent past, recent future, etc. It's impossible to say exact time frames. But recent past in the context of this reading generally I would take to be the last few months, not more than the last few months. And she was rushing about, in a way, I would say behind the scenes, trying to put her case. I think a lot more was going on behind the scenes with Hope Hicks than any of us realised. The storm was brewing. Okay, don't forget this is past, because she's now been interviewed, I think, by Muller. And basically she quite forcefully made her case. I was just doing my job, sir. You know, I'm only young. I'm sorry I'm so beautiful. I don't know for sure, but I think this is her. And I think she made quite a good case for herself. I don't think she is going to be indicted. I think she made quite a compelling argument. So what is influencing the entire reading, or the biggest influence on Hope Hicks? Judgment. So I read this as both the Muller investigation and also the judgment of America. Not now, but down the track, the judgment in history. This is ordinary people rising up. They are not happy and they are part of this judgment. So this might be what comes to skewer her down the track. So I think she's pulled off her case to Muller, but she has not resigned. So therefore, when history tells the story of the Trump administration, she is going to be part of it and is going to be judged as part of it. She could have got out, but she didn't. Coming up, Hope taking a retreat, I bet. So as we've talked about in other readings with the Four of Swords, it's time out, but there's also a tension to this card. There is also the stained glass window representing a puzzle that the figure has to work out. So she's still concerned about something. The swords are mental, so it's not mysterious that she would still be preoccupied and worried to some extent about what's going to happen. So she, in a way, is taking a forced retreat, you might say. Yes, it's Christmas, la la la, but it's more than that. She has to really rethink what she's doing. Okay. So coming up in the near future, she'll be even less in the limelight, but the swords are there. How does Hope Hicks see herself? Yeah, well, this is related to the retreat card in the sense she's suspended in time. I don't mean she's suspended from her job. She's not making a decision right now. She's struggling with the decision and she can't make it at the moment. So she's depending on her beliefs. That's what the Hangman is basically about, because the figure is somewhat sacrificial the way it's designed as a card, but the figure is not unhappy as such. They are just hanging in, but what is holding them there is their belief system. So whether she believes that the investigation won't find her culpable, or that Trump is really a good guy anyway and it was all worth it, whatever she's thinking about, she's still thinking about it, and that is what is occupying her at the moment. This is how she sees herself at the moment. What is acting on that? Yeah, she's really doing big thinking and can't quite make that decision. So she's turning up, as with this other swords figure, of having to come to grips with choosing, making a decision about something, but as yet she hasn't made it. She's still suspended. There's the moon, which represents feminine energy, but also a cloudiness and the Neptunian element with all the water represented by the ocean here. There are rocks in the water. She's sitting on a stone throne. This is not a comfortable figure. This is someone who has to make a decision they don't want to make. Right? So I'm not quite sure at this stage whether that decision is, should I leave this job? Duh! Or not. So what is going on in her mind? This is really quite interesting. It's all about struggling with this decision. The environment. Oh, more swords. Queen of Swords. Now, this is an older woman, older than Hope Hicks. Reminding you, swords, intellect, mental effort, ideas. But the Queen of Swords, is that Hope Hicks' mother? I don't know. Is it someone she admired when she was first in this position, an older woman who helped her, if you like, sharpen her swords to learn her craft? But at this point in the environment position, this woman is still influencing her. It might be that this woman is someone she talks to and is her mentor, but she mightn't literally see her and be on the phone to her. She might be that voice in her head. Might have been a university lecturer, 10 years ago. But it was an older woman with a very sharp mind who hugely influenced Hope Hicks. And Hope now, while she's struggling with these decisions, is calling on this mentor, either literally or figuratively, this older woman. Outcome, more juggling, balls in the air, suspended, can't make a choice. Again, the balancing act. So I think there needs to be another reading. I'm going to actually leave that as the last card for this reading, because I think at this point in time, you know, for the next few weeks, she's sure as hell struggling with a decision. So let's see what comes to pass, and I will do another reading on Hope Hicks. But for now, she's worried and conflicted, but she knows she has to make a decision. Okay, guys, I'll leave you with that for Hope Hicks. Ciao.